Okay, we are now recording. So, welcome everybody to the course. If you haven't been able to yet, the Nearpod link is in the chat so you can follow along. If you're unable to get on the Nearpod, that's okay, but would like you to chat a little bit in the room chat when things come up, just so you can all be involved. So, welcome. This is basically Unit 3 for Introduction to Criminal Justice. This session will be recorded for learning purposes, just so you're aware of that. And then my classroom expectations, make sure you're following along with the Nearpod lesson, using the chat tools respectfully and appropriately, and then also responding to questions and instructions the first time. That just helps us move through at a good pace. Okay, so the lesson objective is, given a quiz in the OLS, students will accurately answer multiple choice questions about criminal law with 80% accuracy across one trial. So if we jumped into the course real quick, you can see I always post the recording here. I was a little late posting this recording. I apologize. I completely forgot. So next time I'll be better on that. So if you haven't been able to watch that and get the answers you need, feel free to do so. We have, oh, my audio's off. Hold on. If you look at the course plan where we're at, today's the 8th. So your quiz 3 and unit 3 reflection will be due on the 14th. So that's what we'll be doing this week. If you've missed anything else, please feel free to catch up on it and go from there. As you can see here, Unit 3, Criminal Law, that's what we'll be going over today. Somebody asked the question of, they can go into other units, but they can't see the quiz and reflection. I hold off on that until we have our lesson. And so now those are now opened up. So you can go in and do the quiz and the reflection after this class to make sure we're done. Okay, so we're going to talk about criminal law. So we're going to be talking a lot about the court system, how it works. There's a lot of things to kind of go over. So let's talk about the law concepts. There's something called common law that centers around the traditions or customs. What has been done previously becomes the basis of the same decision making. So remember how we talked about laws are made up of like customs and traditions that we see as good or bad, and that really depends on the culture you kind of live in. They can be different upon the culture. Case law is the decision interpreted by a judge in an original case becoming the standard for the identical cases in the future. So something that's gray, which there's a lot of gray area out there, a judge will make a decision on that, and then it can go to what's called an appeal. And then the appeal, they usually go see what other case law has happened, right? So what were decisions that were similar to it that we're going to base our decision off of? So that's called case law. Ultimately, the Supreme Court has the final say. So a lot of this case law goes off of what a Supreme Court has decided. And so those decisions will be made that way. The other one is called statute law. And this is law that are passed by legislating bodies. So like your state legislature will create different laws, and there's certain things that are followed to there. Okay, so we're going to talk about first acts of omission. It's an act of that signifies that an individual fails to do something that was required by law. Okay, so for example, as a teacher, I'm a mandatory reporter, which means that I have to report if I hear or see child abuse. I have to report it. Okay, so it's something you didn't do, is an omission. Requiring your children to attend school, right? So your parents could get in trouble for that. Failure to signal when you're driving a car. Those would be acts of omission. Then you have acts of commission, which are acts that you carry out like physically, right? Like you're committing something. So that would be like murder, assault, theft, something like that we've kind of talked about. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how the criminal law system works, and then we'll discuss from there.
Have you ever wondered how criminal charges are filed? Well, stay tuned because I'm going to tell you how. This is Crim Law 101. I'm your professor, and class is in session. My name is Jamal Kersey, and I'm a criminal defense attorney in San Diego. And in this video, I'm going to explain how criminal charges get filed in court. Let's start with police investigation. One of the ways police investigations are initiated is in response to a 911 call. Someone calls 911 with an emergency, the dispatcher puts the call out, and officers respond to the scene. The officers take the statement of the reporting party and any witnesses. Crime scene investigators may take photographs, collect evidence, or shoot video of the scene. Later on, a detective may follow up with any witnesses to confirm or clarify their statements. Reports are prepared and the evidence collected is compiled. The police then turn over all of the information, the reports containing the witness statements, videos, photographs, etc., over to the DA's office. From there, an issuing DA reviews the evidence. The police will generally recommend the charges which should be filed. The issuing DA reviews the evidence to see what, if any, charges should be filed. And this is done by looking at the elements of a crime. For example, a robbery in violation of Penal Code Section 211 has two elements. One is the taking of property, and two, using fear or force. A burglary in violation of Penal Code Section 459 has two elements as well. One is the entry of a building, and two, with the intent to commit theft or any felony therein. And so the DA is analyzing the facts to see which charges she believes can be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. Sometimes additional evidence is needed in order for the DA to reach the conclusion that she can prove her case beyond a reasonable doubt. In this instance, the detectives would actually be called on to conduct further investigation. In other occasions, even though the detectives make a recommendation for certain charges to be filed, the DA does not believe that the charge can be proved beyond a reasonable doubt and declines to file the charge. An important distinction is the fact that law enforcement merely needs probable cause in order to arrest somebody for committing a crime. Probable cause is a relatively low standard. A DA must be confident that she can prove her case beyond a reasonable doubt. And this explains why sometimes people are arrested for a crime but don't actually get charged in court, or why in some cases charges get dismissed after they've been filed. Assuming there's sufficient evidence justifying criminal charges, the next step is the drafting of a document called the complaint. The complaint has the defendant's name, date of birth, and booking number on it, along with a case number. It lists each of the charges and allegations against the defendant, along with the sentencing ranges for each charge. The complaint is then filed in court. The next step is the defendant's initial appearance, which is called the arraignment. And in the arraignment, the accused is formally read the charges against him, and he enters his plea. You can check out my video on where I explain what happens at the arraignment. Well, that's a quick explanation on how criminal charges get filed in court. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please show us some love and hit the like button. If you think someone might find this information useful, please share it. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, so that somewhat gives you kind of the process as it's going through the criminal justice system. So let's have a little question real here. You can put it in the chat or you can put it there. After watching the video, what questions may you have, if any, on how it happens? Nada, none. Okay. None. All right. Okay, I guess he was pretty clear on most of it. Okay, so what I want to do, just quickly, because I know on this quiz, a lot of people have had issues with it in the past. So I want to show this quiz. So let me just pull it over here. Okay, so the quiz has 5 questions on it. Okay, so we're just going to go over these questions so you know what to look for when we're going through the slides here. So question number 1 is, under which branch of government does law enforcement follow? Is it the executive, the judicial, or legislative? Okay. Number 2, a justice court has the authority to hear a theft case involving merchandise valued at $285, which is a Class B misdemeanor. Is that true or false? Next one, an appeal. Okay, an appeal of a verdict from the justice court will be heard in Judge Judy's court or the district court. The Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court is elected by the people every 4 years. Is that true or false? Drug court was established as a last resort for 3-time offenders. True or false? And the appeal court is a court of original jurisdiction. Okay. And so think about those as we kind of go through this real quick. Oh, come on. My computer is not being nice to me. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay, so the Utah law book produced by the Utah legislature in 1953, and this is Utah code. So this is what the legislator corrected. Okay, this is revised annually and meets and enacts new laws, statutory laws for the state of Utah, and they have chapter and numbering system. General provisions. So one is jurisdiction of where police officers can operate. For example, city, county, or state. And those that run this may be one of your questions that you want to think about, is the executive branch is the one that controls the police office. Okay, so the executive branch. The venue, the right county or district to prosecute a criminal action. Okay, so if something were to come up, they need to go into there. Yes, hint, hint, wink, wink. Okay, so statutes of limitations. So, for example, if you were to commit a capital offense is like murder, all those kind of things. There's no amount of time. So that's why they have these cold cases that now, because of new technology, they're finding out who did it like 20 years later and still prosecuting them. Those have it there. There's a statute of limitations in a felony for 4 years. So if you committed something bad and it never became in the process of being there, 4 years, you're done. Okay. It's over with. They can't try you for it. A misdemeanor is 2 years and an infraction is 1 year. Okay, so as you're going through the process, prosecution begins when an information is filed. An information is a legal document which is filed with the appropriate court specified, and the law of the defendant has allegedly violated, and what proof kind of exists. So that's going to be the first thing that kind of happens. And one thing that they have to prove is intent. So the intent, like the thing was they were intentionally that they did it. And that's where it comes in with the acts of omission and commission. They kind of come in there. Was it knowingly? Was it there? Was it something that was reckless? Was it something that was negligent? Was it traffic laws do not require intent. So, but think about that. Okay, so each crime is composed of elements, and so each of which must be proven in order for the defendant to be found guilty. Now, remember they talked about in the video that they only need probable cause to like arrest you or search something, but in order to convict you of a crime, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's part of your constitutional right is beyond a reasonable doubt in order, and they have to follow all of these things of intent there. Okay, there's a difference between a felony and a misdemeanor. Misdemeanors, you only go to jail, which is 1 year or less. A felony, you would actually be sentenced to prison. So it's a longer time, more than a year. A capital felony is something like aggravated murder and could go up to death or life imprisonment. First degree felony, 5 years of imprisonment. So this is like murder, aggravated robbery, burglary, aggravated kidnapping, or rape. Second degree felony is something like manslaughter, kidnapping, burglary, abuse, robbery, of theft in excess of $5,000. Third degree felony is 0 to 5 years imprisonment. This is theft of any item between $1,000 and $5,000. And then like arson with the intent to defraud an insurer or aggravated assault. A class A misdemeanor is up to 1 year in jail. Vehicle burglary, a theft of an item valued from $300 to $1,000, and then assault on a peace officer. So let me just jump back real quick. I'm just looking at our questions to see if we, because I think there's one on here when we're talking about class B misdemeanor. Okay. All right. So if you look here, class B misdemeanor, look at this one, this May one. Maybe I should annotate it so you can see it here. Theft of an item valued less than $300. That may be something on your quiz. Hint, hint, right there. But those would be the ones on a class B misdemeanor. Class C is up to 3 months in jail, disorderly conduct, criminal trespassing. Most traffic violations would be considered this. Okay, so tell me real quick, what is the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony? What's the difference between a misdemeanor or a felony? Jail and prison. Very good. Whoever posted that, right? Misdemeanor is typically less significant compared to a felony. Correct. Felonies are more serious. Good. Let's see here. Felony is more serious. A misdemeanor is minor offense. Felony is more serious, followed with prison. Yep. Felonies, remember, they go to prison. Misdemeanors, jail. Misdemeanors aren't as bad. Yep. Felonies can land you in prison. Okay, misdemeanor is more of time out. Yep, it's felony is getting kicked out. All right. Very good. Yep, basically don't commit crimes. That would be a great idea. Okay, so an infraction is something that's different. That's no jail time. So for example, a disorderly conduct where a warning has occurred. Most traffic violations are there. So you got attempt, okay? You need evidence to find that they attempted to do something, okay? And they must clearly indicate beyond a reasonable doubt that something happened. Okay, we're going to skip this one. Okay, crimes against a person, crimes against property, crimes against government and public order, interfering with arrest. So this is kind of a big one. So let's say you're interfering with, you have a family member that maybe you don't want to get in trouble and you lead the police wrong. You could be considered what they call an accessory, right? You don't want to be an accessory. Okay. Obstructing justice. And that's part of that same thing, right? So basically hindering or preventing or delaying the prosecution or conviction or punishment of something that happened. So if you know where evidence is hidden, you do not do something, that could be there. This is something that's kind of bigger, reporting false crimes. There was a big thing about an actor actually doing that. He said he got mugged or whatever, and it actually never happened, right? I guess he was just looking for attention or something like that. Hold on. Okay. Well, that looks like it was done twice here. Hold on. I think we talked about, so these are crimes against public order and decency. I'll have you guys read those. Disorderly conduct. Okay, so fighting or threatening behavior, abusive language. This is something you could get when you're going to like a ball game or something like that. So just don't do that. Here's electronic communications harassment. I feel like I get that every day when my car warranty is expired and I get about 5 phone calls just because of that. Okay, public intoxication. That can be one as well. No prank calls, yeah. So then we got a definition of a firearm. This is kind of important. So there are restrictions if you're not a citizen of the U.S. to have a firearm in the United States. And then also having one in possession when you have narcotic drugs. So those are some big ones right there. Possession of a dangerous weapon by a minor. So if you're under 18, you got to have permission from a parent or adult. Carrying a loaded firearm in a vehicle. Okay, there's concealed weapon carry laws that you need to be familiar with if you decide to carry. Brandishing a weapon, so that means showing somebody that you have a weapon or pointing it at them. That could be very, very bad. Controlled substances. Okay, so this is one of our things here. So we talk about a drug court. Okay, so drug courts are not established. First-time users usually go to drug court. Okay, so that would be one of your questions. So remember that. Okay, it happens the first time, not after so many attempts. Okay. Okay, possession of alcohol by a minor. unlawful acts in school, which you guys are online. So I guess staying after or wandering or trespassing isn't a huge deal. But if you don't go to the school, so say you're full-time at UTVA and you go to another school and you just hang out, you could be in trouble for loitering or trespassing. Okay, that is the end, but I think there's some questions I didn't answer on there, and so that's why they're there. So let me pull up the questions one more time, okay? So those that watch the video will get some good answers here. Okay, so we already talked about this one. We already talked about this one. So read this one very carefully, number 2, okay? I'm hoping you understand this one, difference between district court and Judge Judy. The Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court is elected by the people every 4 years, okay? Is that true or false? Okay, maybe something you should look up, Google, okay? Drug courts were established at the last resort. We already talked about that. Oops, I don't know why I clicked that. Anyways, the appeal court is the court of original jurisdiction, right? Appeal means it's already happened. So if this is the first time it's happened, the appeal court is the second, right? So think about that. So I think we went through all the questions there. If you have any other questions, please stick around. And that's the end of class. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll be after to answer any questions for you. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day. And real quick, some people had some questions about the reflections. The reflections, if you look back here, they're due the Thursday before. If you haven't done them, still do them. I'm going to give you credit for them. Okay. So if you have any other questions, stay after. But if not, thanks, everybody, for coming. See ya.